Welcome back to Seriously Caffeinated. Bow, 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 bow. My name is John Rogers, and I have with me my Sirius AI mug. It is filled to the brim with beautiful caffeine, and it's actually pumpkin-flavored coffee today. So I'm really excited to get caffeinated as I talk to my great friend who is right here. His name is Jacob Pantazis. Jacob, what are you drinking today?
Hey, what's going on? I'm drinking a Pamplemousse LaCroix. I just recently learned that pamplemousse is a different word for grapefruit, and these are actually delicious. They're really good. I wanted to throw some Red Bull in here to caffeinate mine, but I didn't have any. So I'm hydrated. I'm seriously hydrated, and I'm going to have the energy of all the caffeine that I drank this morning.
Well, fantastic, Jacob. You are bringing that energy right now. And to those of you who don't know this very important fact of humanity is that Jake and I met each other when we were dashing princes in Into the Woods with Jude Bascom's Spats Performing Arts Company in Derry, New Hampshire. So the first time Jacob and I ever hung out, he gave me some singing advice. He told me that you salivate less when you bite your tongue before you go on stage. And I have remembered that to this day.
Sage advice. That's what I have to think about it every once in a while these days too. No, yeah, I was honored I got to be opposite you in your first theatrical role. You went on to lead and do a lot of great things as well, but it was kind of cool that, we got to work together in your first show. And I think it's really cool too, that's kind of like moved you in this direction here, kind of making an animated musical. I'm so happy to have been able to be in on the ground floor and chew your tongue. If you didn't know it, it's how you hydrate yourself even more, I guess.
Absolutely. It's been great. And, that was back in 2010, I believe. So Jacob and I have known each other for about 15 years. And
that's pretty wild.
Yeah, and Jacob has been... Sorry, I had to get up. I had to get my phone. I forgot I had it on my charger. But, we are here today because Jake has been a longtime supporter of Sirius AI, a post-apocalyptic musical. Jake, was Sirius AI made by AI?
It was not. I really like too that you guys are so direct and open in saying this, that it's not made by AI. And it's cool. I mean, for what it's worth, like, it was a hiking trip that you and I went on in 2018 where you first told me this idea. So I think this idea really does come before the big boom of chatbots and all this that's kind of affected our society. But I think it's really awesome that you kind of, you started to formulate this story and it's just kind of become more relevant than ever. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
But no, AI was not involved in the animation process at all.
Yeah, for sure. That's the biggest question that we get when I try to pitch people. I actually went to Jacob's hometown of Manchester, New Hampshire with some team members a couple months ago. Ooh, yikes, like September. Okay. 3 months ago. We're in December now. But we went to Granite Con, which is the New Hampshire equivalent of a Comic-Con, and it's because it's the Granite State, you uncultured people who didn't know that, but if you did, then that's great. Everyone, there's a lot of artists at Comic-Con, and the moment I would hand them a piece of literature and they see AI written on it, they would be like, I would have to like follow it up immediately with, oh, look at that little badge we also put on it. It says human made. And they said, good, because I was about to rip this up in front of you. There is a lot of hostility towards AI from the artist community. However, there is also a lot of embracing of artificial intelligence, specifically in business sectors. And Jacob, not to get into your personal life all that much, but you are a doctor. Is that true?
Yeah. I did just get my PhD. Yes.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Congratulations!
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And not to put you on the spot too much with that, but has AI been impacting your ability to find work? Would you say?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I would say to find work for sure. I think it also really has kind of changed the way that people get jobs. Like this is a time when the job market's really wild, and part of that is because AI is making it really easy to send in a lot of applications. So I think hiring managers are kind of like flooded with lots of people that they need to see. But I'm guilty of it as well. For a little while there, especially early on in my job search, I was trying to use AI to write my cover letters for job applications and stuff. So it did make things more it accelerated my ability to do these things, but then I started to kind of reflect on the quality of stuff that was coming out maybe starting to sound more formulaic, or it starts to sound like everybody's application, everybody's cover letter. And I think realizing that like putting the humanity behind these things is kind of important, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think that this is a new frontier for humanity, is that artificial intelligence is becoming so prevalent, and it was already kind of hard for humans to, like, I feel like, and I think I might have mentioned this in my last episode that I did, is that, I feel like the theme of the 2010s was about mental health awareness. And, especially teenagers, like most schools were moving in the direction of like, oh, you can't bully kids because it'll make them sad. And like, we're dealing with like depression and anxiety for kids. And I feel like we never kind of resolved that. We never figured out what makes humanity awesome, because you are a human. And then next thing we know, COVID happens, and then artificial intelligence is around. So I feel like we never like solved that question of the 2010s question of what makes life as a human being worth it, not to get into a dark place, but and so I feel like we're in this very strange place for humanity, because we already have so many issues with understanding our place in the world, and now another entity is coming along that seems to do it with less complaining and more efficiency than us. And like I mentioned, a lot of artists especially are very hostile towards AI. A lot of businesses are, embracing it because it's easy, it's quick, and it makes money. That is until, AI also takes their jobs. So the big reason that we're doing this season of Siriusly Caffeinated is to talk very specifically about why it's so important that Sirius AI, a post-apocalyptic musical, is given and put in front of kids. Because while it wasn't the original intention when we first came up with the idea in 2017, it has absolutely become a golden opportunity to, identify the issue now, which is, what does it mean to be human? And telling it through the lens of two artificial intelligent beings who are trying to teach humans how to be human, I feel like it kind of writes itself. At first you might think like, oh, well, we don't want AI to teach humans how to be human because that's not real humanity. But the idea is that there are things that AI will never be able to teach us, and we're going to explore those things. Yeah. So, Jacob, you've been supporting Sirius AI for quite a bit. I see in your background you have a big J. And that's Hope's hand right there.
That's right.
You might be able to see it more on your screen, but for me, I see the J, and then I see some hands like that. So that's actually Jacob's Easter egg, because he helped support our pilot episode, so we decided to put Jacob on a billboard.
And I think there's lore to this. I think this is a pants company from kind of the pre-apocalyptic era. You know what I mean? I really buy into this lore here. This could be really a deep character that might appear later in the series. We're not going to show his face right now for that reason. But if you watch the pilot, you can actually see his face there. And maybe something even goes through it, which is kind of crazy. I'm not at all salty that you took my Easter egg and turned it into a way to brutalize and vandalize my pants store billboard. That's fine. I really appreciate what you're saying. I really appreciate what you're saying about the show there. I think especially because it comes down to, anything that AI would try to teach humans about being human would have had to come from a human in the first place, right? Like, I don't know. We got to think, especially in terms of art and in terms of business, like all AI really is doing is just kind of regurgitating in the right order the same things that have already been put out there and said by humans in the first place, right? So kind of all of the, I think AI doesn't really have an idea of what reality is, but it just is kind of an efficient way of kind of repackaging what we humans have kind of decided is the way to describe our reality, right? So keeping the perspective that like a human had to be there from the beginning, no matter where the AI takes you. I think it's a really profound message, and maybe we can talk more specifically about kind of some of the ideas that are shown in the show that really get at that. I like that a lot. But I appreciate this message a lot.
Yeah, and one of the, we're still working on our big 30-minute, first episode. We have our 10-minute pilot episode out, but we're actually going to be publishing another animated part of this full episode tomorrow, which, although tomorrow from this recording, not from this published video. So either way, we're releasing the overture, which is a 4-minute animated short that kind of shows us a little bit more of this world.
Great.
And it brings us into the cave, which is not an allegory or anything like that. It is.
Yeah, of course.
And
It's gotta be.
we meet Victor Loveman, who is one of the last full-fledged humans that is still around, and he creates Sirius AI. And I guess one of the things that you have me thinking about, but also like has always been a big thought, is I feel like no one's asking the question of like what is AI? Because like, could you not make the point to say like artificial intelligence is almost like an offspring of humanity? And isn't it our job as humans to nurture and care for it? I don't know. What do you have to? What's your reaction
that's totally true. I think AI is a product of human. And again, we talk about AI in its current form as if this is like something entirely new. But like the ideas of AI go back to, kind of the foundations of like computer science and like understanding how algorithms can be kind of set up to make decisions in complex ways, right? And I think the thing that like we need to nurture AI, because it comes from us, but also like AI doesn't have any judgment, right? I think that's like the biggest thing, that we need to, understand is like every time you prompt ChatGPT, you kind of create this little box for it to work in, where you create these assumptions and ask it to give you an output that works for you. Like you're the one who came up with the question. You're the one who is putting those constraints on this tool to get an output. And at the end of the day, it's you who judges the value and kind of the efficacy of that at the end of the day. So I think like I don't know. I think realizing that like AI really doesn't have any connection with reality. You kind of are the one who puts AI in a specific reality and asks for some task to be delivered to you, right? You just kind of have to think of AI as like access to a lot of information, and that's what Sirius has in the show. Like, what I really like about the way that you depict Sirius as a character, he's endearing because he's so innocent. But it's like that's how you should view AI. Like AI really knows nothing. AI doesn't really understand like reality and the world. It just has like access to all this information. You see in the beginning of the pilot that Sirius kind of has all these definitions for what everything is, all created by humans in the first place, right? He's just accessing some data. He doesn't really understand what these things mean. He doesn't understand what feelings mean. I like that the way the show, even from the pilot, you see that it's like, oh, okay, he's actually going to learn and become more human through interacting with his environment, through like interacting with reality. It's like you're the one who, we people are the ones who bring the reality to the AI. You know what I mean? I think that's what we have to keep in mind as we're like using these tools. So yeah. I don't know.
What would you say, like, if Sirius was here right now and he told you that he was a human and that he fully believes that he is a human, what would your reaction to that be?
Yeah, I would say he should go read Pinocchio, because I think he would have some really like strong reactions. I think he would really identify with the character Pinocchio. Oh, maybe my video went out there for a second. I'm sorry. But no, I get, I would say like, sorry, man, you're not, but I am. Doesn't that suck? No, I believe that's really rude, because there is truth to like, are AI going to outlive humans? This is kind of a question that you put here where, you're in a post-apocalyptic world, and what's left are these AI that have like cognition, and maybe Loveman also has some human realism and cognition, but I think you kind of are maybe going to introduce later what the rest of humanity looks like, right? And I think like, I don't know, there's something really powerful about realizing that like we have humanity, we have judgment, we have real interactions with reality that AI is just never going to, or like I don't mean to question it, but I think it's worth putting that in there too. Like maybe an AI really isn't ever actually going to achieve feeling. Like, we've seen these stories that like tell these really interesting ideas about like AI interacting with romantic concepts or things like this. But I think the more that we consider that AI is just a tool, the more empowering it can be for us. That it's like, the real artists are going to learn how to either use that tool or not use it at all to make new art. And I think a lot of the art that comes out of AI is still regurgitating or being influenced by previous artists. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so I'm kind of all over the place, but these are such big questions,
Yeah. Well, I guess like I try very hard, and for some of you that are watching this, maybe you're like still very unfamiliar with our two primary characters, but there's Sirius AI and then there's Hope. And Hope is and also an artificial intelligent being. However, she's been around the block. She's not a new sentient being. She knows her place. And whenever Sirius spouts this baloney that he is a real boy, he's a human, she's right there to correct him. And you could call her a realist. Sirius might call her a stick in the mud. I'm not sure. And it's just, I feel like one of the things that I'm really proud of this project is humanity's capability of relating to either Sirius or Hope. One of the things that I also want, Sirius is supposed to be a very endearing, Sean Tima, one of our producers, has attributed him to SpongeBob. He's like
sure.
SpongeBob robot. And when you have a robot who's just like smiling with this giant toothy grin at you saying, "I'm a real boy, I want so much to be real." Like, how do you look at that being and argue with that? And I guess that's I think there it's complicated issues, and and not to like get too, I don't think this is political, but it's just history, is that humans have a notorious history of looking at each other and not recognizing each other's humanity. And so, it doesn't matter what group you're from. If you're not part of my tribe, my group, you are less human than I am. And I'm curious about the future of artificial intelligence, if we're ever going to run into those issues.
Wow.
And
I think we already kind of have that in the internet a little bit, right? Where there's a lot of bots and you know what I mean? There's a lot of content that's just made by AI and you don't know if it was made by a human or not. So even just telling, it's always hard to see humanity through a screen. Even in my car, sometimes I don't think of other cars on the road as people driving cars. I think of this van cut me off. You know what I mean? So it's easy for us to cut out the person behind the things. And it's way easier behind a screen, I think. So there's something there.
I can absolutely relate to that thing about cars. One thing that's really and I don't mind saying this, it's not like my dirty little secret, but if you are watching this podcast episode, then you deserve to know this. But we have a TikTok account, we have an Instagram account, and we have a Facebook account. And one of the things I really like doing is going in and messaging people, pretending to be an AI bot. And it's really funny because I think people are really confused. Is this actually an AI bot? Did they program an AI to work their social media, or is this a human? And either way, it's funny because when we are in our car and we are driving, we don't acknowledge the other humans, and so we tend to have road rage. We tend to do things that we wouldn't do if we were aware of the fact that there's a bunch of other humans around us. And so sometimes when I get into those conversations with people pretending to be an AI, the responses vary, and it's not always bad, it's not always good. It's just people feel more open to be able to just insult an AI or say just something completely obscene or something trying to get the chat GPT to get to the place where it's I can't answer those questions. And then you get really frustrated because you're no, I'm not talking about anything inappropriate, I'm talking about something legit, I'm actually curious about this. And sorry, I can't do that. Yeah, and so I think that's an interesting place to consider, because artificial intelligence is I think you were about to say it but you didn't. The word clanker is going around, and and it's funny because I can't say we coined that phrase because we never copyrighted it, but
clank.
Hope refers to herself multiple times in our pilot as a clank. And Sam Druin and I, who is the assistant story writer, we have scripts upon scripts of clank and clanker being an actual plot term for cool. AI. And it's funny that people started using it. All this being said, is humanity's response to AI is a very interesting place to delve into, because we're not sure if we're not sure if we need to be on our best behavior to it.
Yeah, that's true. You know what's interesting too is I kind of see Hope as more human than Sirius because she's cynical. Which isn't that kind of sad? I kind of felt sad as I was thinking about this, but like, no, she seems to have a better understanding of reality because she's not so bubbly and like reactive to things. But she's still an AI. But I think she's like a little bit more humanized, which is kind of interesting. So maybe you don't have to be cynical to be human, but you know, I don't know, there's nothing there, I guess.
Yeah, and like, you know, I'm no psychologist. You're probably more of a psychologist than I am because you're a doctor.
I just have a BA
in English. And what do you do with a BA in English?
What do you do with a BA in English? Yeah, I've auditioned with that song before. It's okay. I didn't like psychology class in college. No,
but
I skipped it once.
I feel like one of the big questions right now is, you know, among many other questions, is very specifically what is it about Sirius and Hope that people latch onto? Because no matter, even if people say, John, this pilot episode is terrible, that animation was clunky, like, you know, the music's mid. I would show the pilot to a lot of high schoolers for a grade. They had to write an essay on it for me.
They said it was mid? Who said it was mid?
There is one of my old students who in the comments said, kind of mid. And I think he was just messing with me. But either way, like, you know, no matter what your opinion on the product that we put out is, I have never failed to get a response from someone when I say, who do you relate to more, Sirius or Hope? And they always have an answer. And it's funny because both of them are not supposed to be human, and we're very explicitly saying these are not human beings. Yet, for some reason, people always relate to one of them. It might not be the same one, but there's something about them that is so innately human that we latch onto it. And I think humanity has a whole like what's the word? Humanity has a whole spectrum. A spectrum of how we experience life. And between Sirius and Hope, we get two outlooks. You know, you have optimistic, I love life, I love existing, and then you have the pessimistic, like, I don't want to be here, this is a waste of time. And both of those things are very human feelings, especially after 2010s and seeing, you know, which one of us got through the mental health crisis and which one of us are still struggling with it.
I would say, like you said before, though, the mental health crisis is still ongoing. Like, I think, you know, like you're saying, we didn't answer that question, and there's definitely still a lot of people who struggle with mental health. Yeah. So is the answer 50-50? Like, do people kind of go one way or the other, or is it more obviously do people like identify more with Hope? What do you think?
You know, well, which answer do I get? I would say it's pretty 50-50. Like,
really?
Yeah, okay. I would say that there's people who like say like, oh yeah, I like Sirius, like he's so bubbly and he's like Sirius loves himself, and that is very obvious when you. And I'm not trying to boil like, you know, depression down to like something as simple as that. But what I do know is that, you know, without going into too much detail, I've definitely had some times in my life where I felt more like a Hope. And then I have times where I feel like more like a Sirius. And my girlfriend Avery, who Jacob, you've met, Avery has this optimistic outlook on life, and sometimes it just pisses me off. And she's so bubbly, and she's so excited to be around people, and then I catch myself thinking, when did I become a Hope? Like, and because Hope reacts to him that way. It's like, you know, why are you enjoying life? And Sirius's question for Hope is, hey, why don't you like yourself? Like, you're awesome. And it's, I don't know if there is an answer. I am not here to give humanity an answer. What I am here for is to ask these questions and let's have like a conversation about this. And that's why I think this is so important. And this is the time to get this in front of kids, because kids are growing up with artificial intelligence everywhere. You know, there's a lot of hypocrisy of it. When I was teaching in school, like, we are told as teachers, have your phone on you all the time so that you can put in the negative points or the positive points for good or bad behavior. And so you can also call in backup if you need it, and also use AI to make your lesson plans work because we're taking away your planning period. And then meanwhile, we turn around and say, you kids can't have your phone out, and if we detect you're using AI, you're in big trouble. And
Yikes. Yeah.
it's hypocritical, and I feel like, but that's not stopping kids from using it. It's almost like a drug at this point. Don't bring the drug to school, but like you're gonna use it at home because it's so like it's so prohibited.
Or kind of like you're saying, making the thing cool by making it not. But also I think there's a problem too with just like there's also something very human about like doing things the most convenient way. Like I understand why people want to just lean on AI and let it do their math homework for them. Like I get that, but I think it is the school's place to say no AI, on tasks that you need to really like learn how to do yourself, I suppose. But it's hard, like for a kid. I think that's why, showing this idea, letting them know, like maybe from the jump that like AI is kind of just as naive as you are as a young child. Not to be calling the kids naive in a show, I don't think they really are, but realizing that like AI doesn't know everything from the jump, maybe. Yeah. AI doesn't really understand reality, and you're kind of crippling yourself by relying on this tool in the wrong ways. Like you're saying, like you said I think before we started the podcast too, you mentioned like make sure you're using AI the right way, but like nobody really knows how to use it the right way, and it's ever evolving, so there's always a new way to use it, and it's like, well then how do I know how to implement this properly? Yeah. I do think the right way, at least for me at this point with where AI is like keep the human in the process as much as possible. Like really, if you have a question, and it's impossible to not ask a question to get an answer from AI right now. Like if you ask a question on Google, the first thing you see is the AI response. And a lot of times it's skimmed from something and it's like outdated information or it doesn't really work. I really do think like searching with AI could be a really powerful tool, but like the way that it's implemented now, at least in like the most common form with Google AI, is like, I don't know, it's just not very effective. I think it was better to just do a regular Google search before AI had to put its foot in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. You can't always trust and rely on it. And I think people, if you're starting from a young age, believing in AI is the way, like you're going to cripple yourself down the road for sure.
And I absolutely agree. Like I do agree that schools need to have a hard philosophy on AI, but I guess I think back to like, this isn't the best equivalent, but like, why should I learn math if I have a calculator? Why should I learn how to write if I have AI? And yet, like, those are, like, as technology evolves in our existence, like, those questions are always brought up in education because kids are not going to want to learn things that they feel they don't need to learn. And I feel like the answer there is, and it, try to convince a teenager of this, but like, you need to learn how to do this because when you don't know and AI is telling you these things, you need to be able to identify when it's wrong.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
You need to be able to check each other. And I feel like, I know tons of people who don't know how to do things that most humans knew how to do throughout history. Humans had to do throughout history. You had to learn how to read and write. You had to learn how to do math. You had to learn how to do all these, how to draw and things like that. It was a very essential human skill. And now, like, kids don't need to because they have something to do it for them. But it's always like, and yeah, I don't think it's a dirty secret to say that you use like ChatGPT or something like that. I've definitely like written something in ChatGPT before and said, clean this up. Yeah. And it's essentially what I'm saying. It's just, written better. And I forget what it's called. Like, I'm a really bad English teacher, but it's like the dash. Like Avery said there is a dash that AI uses that no human actually knows how to use. And I'm a good example of that, being an English teacher, it's just like, it's not a slash, it's a dash.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I used to use something like, I used to do like a double dash, and I would go dash dash, and sometimes it would make a long dash, but I don't do that anymore because I don't want people to think that I'm an AI. So I've also abandoned this. I can't remember what the name of this hyphen is, though.
What is the name? I'm asking AI. What is the name of the dash that AI likes to use when it rewrites things?
AI would know best.
All right, the dash AI is often associated M dash. And Avery,
the M dash.
In Avery's defense, she actually knew that. So she
that's
probably
great.
should
and
teach
we
my
didn't
classes.
undermine this podcast at all by bringing in AI just now. It's totally fine. No, I mean, I do use ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT primarily to help write my D&D campaigns. I'll tell you, like, I know the stakes are low. No one is gonna, publish my creative writing endeavors, and it's just for a fun game with people. I think it's fun for randomly generating things. I think it's good, like, if you have some kind of like repetitive task that you need to do to a body of text, like get rid of all the M dashes. Sometimes that, like, these kind of things are just tools. Again, it's kind of like, you kind of talk about this idea of like people adopting new technologies that kind of make it easier to do things. We can just make it really simple of like the can opener. Like, I'm sure people were hyped when somebody made that first, the crank can opener, and then they could open the can. They didn't have to stab it anymore. That's great. We are treating this can opener like tool like it's the next coming of whatever god that you're into. It's just a can opener. It's really just a tool. It's just kind of trying to predict the word order that you will respond well to. And it's really good at that, clearly, because people can be fooled by it. But I think we should consider it's just a can opener. It's just a machine, you know what I mean? And it is also eating, drinking like lakes and lakes of our water and kind of hurting the environment. So there's that whole aspect of it too. But I don't know. I am pro AI generally. Like, I do see the can opener as something that we should keep, but we need to know how to do it properly. I think one example actually recently, I don't know if you heard this, like one of the big American banks like JP Morgan just said that they're going to start using AI in their processes. But the idea is not to use like generative AI, it's to use what they call agentic AI, where it's more like the AI is just a toolkit that a person is always going to use. And the person is always using it for analysis and then reading out and kind of judging how that analysis went. You know what I mean? It's going to accelerate their job, but it's not necessarily going to replace them or take the human out of the process. And I think things like that are kind of the right way to go about it. Even then, we really need to make sure that there's good scrutiny on these systems, because then, how good could predictive models get at like kind of turning the kind of, I don't know. I don't want to like doom and gloom.
No. I hear exactly what you're saying. I'm just also thinking, may I share your current employment situation? Mm-hmm. Excellent. So because I live in Austin, Texas, almost full time, and we have a ton of Waymos. You ever have? Do you have a Waymo in Chapel Hill?
We don't have Waymos in Chapel Hill yet. No, I haven't seen them.
They are self-driving cars. It is crazy to like pull up next to one and see no one in the driver's seat. But they are driving people around, and it's an alternative to Lyft and Uber. And so like I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I think that there is like a very like we shouldn't take the human out of it, but we see it happening, and like there's so many humans who are losing their positions, like being a rideshare driver. And, that's just one example to self-driving cars, like driven by AI. But I think it's I think the future is. It's funny because sometimes I feel like humanity is almost at an end to its evolution, and sometimes I feel like it's just about to get started. And it's this weird feeling of like we're in the end times, but also we're in this giant new frontier of we have a lot to figure out, especially in a philosophical sense of who are we, what's the purpose in life, like all those things that the great Greek philosophers had posed so many years ago. And it's about and I feel like one of the things that Sirius AI is here for is to have those types of conversations with humans, because we're going to have a lot more questions on our plate in the years to come about what's our place in this whole thing and what's AI's place in this whole thing. And that's assuming there's only one type of AI. I mean, there's probably tons of different models and entities. And,
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean,
it's like you said, different ones for words, different ones for images. Like, different training data can be used by different kind of sets of equations and models. I think it's hard though, because like when we talk about the rideshare driving and stuff, like I don't think that the automated cars necessarily can replace the drivers, because at least they can potentially in the future, but imagine like, one of these big companies like employing these like humanoid robots to do the actual delivery. Because I've been delivery driving while I've been out of a job right now, and I do like, unfortunately, like really strongly rely on AI to make that happen for myself, right? Like this is like an algorithm that like knows how to package and offer me deals so that I can go make those deliveries and make that money. Yeah. So like, and I don't think right now the Waymo can like carry the 36 count water bottle up 4 flights of stairs and go to somebody's apartment. And unfortunately, unfortunately I have to put a little bit of legwork, but it is, again, it's like, there's stuff we can take the human out of. Maybe there's stuff that we don't need to. I do hope that like people's jobs won't be taken and we can consider the value of the person. You know what I mean? I don't know. At least right. But again, it's like also how humanity evolves. Like you're saying, we could just be like at the very beginning of something, and there could be a lot more jobs that get generated from having better AI systems that require less of us. I don't know, doing manual labor, or maybe that's where we should go, is, you know what I mean? Do the things that the AI can't. I don't know. It's tough to know exactly what the
and this holds, this is just one of many examples I could pull out of my butt right now. But like, there's a lot less piano tuners since the advent of the digital keyboard. But this is a good chance to get to our first of my actual written questions, but we can fly through these. So, what aspects for you, Jacob? What aspects of the human experience should we prioritize preserving or celebrating?
Oh, okay. I mean, I think I'll say it again, is judgment. I think like realize that it's like humans have the power to decide when something is right and wrong in our reality, and we need to own that. And we really can't let AI tell us like what is true about the world around us. You know what I mean? I think that's a really important thing. And celebrating things like real creativity and real innovation, which would not have, that's what celebrating is, like someone creating a new tune or creating a new type of plot line in a book or a movie. Like real ingenuity, especially in the media that we consume, is going to come from people. Like otherwise it's just kind of regurgitated by those models in AI, I think.
Yeah, well, I will say, and I feel like this conversation is mostly just us throwing wrenches into each other, which is fine. That's what philosophy is.
Let's fight. Well, we're the princes. We gotta like kind of undercut each other a little bit.
So I will admit, being the Renaissance man that I am, a lover of all different types of artistic communication, who does communication by captivation.
You captivate people.
We did a Frankenstein performance a few months ago for Halloween, and when I was writing the script, I was listening to this like really this really long YouTube video, like music. It was like dark academia music for writing, and it wasn't until I finished writing the script, which took me like 2 weeks, I looked at the description and I said, "Oh, this was made by AI."
Yikes.
Yeah. Okay. And it's part of me feels dirty and part of me feels impressed. It's pervasive, and I don't know if that's a bad or good thing. I think everyone has an opinion on it, but
no, that's wild. That's wild.
But I would be doing a disservice to not admit that. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people don't want to admit that. It's like, when AI comes up, it's like this dirty thing that, you can't ever admit that you use this, even if by accident.
Yeah. No, I think you got to use it the right way. I will say, actually, because you brought up Frankenstein specifically, I think that's another thing to celebrate, and it's something you celebrate in the show, in Sirius. I really do kind of see some parallels between Sirius and Frankenstein. At least maybe you're going to see a little bit more of that as you get into the Dr. Loveman kind of side of the story. But like, I love that at its core, that was what Frankenstein was about. Is it's like this reanimated tissue that wanted to be able to love, but it couldn't, right? And it never was able to experience romance like a real breathing human. And I think like love is like a thing to celebrate, that humans can experience, that AI can conceptualize or describe to you. AI could write you with a 3-hour podcast or a novel about love, but like this is a thing that we celebrate because it's a intrinsically human thing. Yeah. I think you're going to see that more in the show. Sorry, I'm getting a little cheesy.
No, you're fine. I want to throw more wrenches, but I want to keep going too.
Okay, let's keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here's your next question, Jacob. All right. What first drew you to support Sirius AI Post-Apocalyptic Musical, and how has your connection to the project evolved over time?
Okay, well, so it's easy. You first drew me to the project. Like I said, we had that fateful trip where you kind of told me this core idea of Sirius.
Which hike was that?
We hiked Mount Major like the day after Christmas, and it was all frozen, and we were like slipping and falling out down that. But that was the first time you told me about it. I think
was it just us?
It was just you and me. Okay. I think you were also past conceptualizing because you and Devereaux had already recorded some of the music, and you even played me some of the music in the car. And I think the music is what definitely speaks to me the most because I really like Devereaux's work. I think the music is way not mid. I think it's like really one of the strengths of the show, along with the talent that you have singing there. Alana and Ellis both do really great jobs in that pilot, and I'm excited to see more. So I think the music is great, and I've always been drawn to musicals, and I think my connection to the project has evolved because I've seen the relevance of this project has just grown. It has fallen and kind of developed alongside this boom in kind of our use of AI, like we've been talking about. And also, I don't know, I've gotten a little bit more interested in animated musical projects. I think there have been some really great recent examples of animated musicals that really do rely on kind of musical-esque, classic stage show-esque music, like Steven Universe. I don't know if you're a fan of that. And Has Been Hotel is one that really exploded.
I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but I might shut off my computer if I do it. There's a Steven Universe sticker on my computer right here, but you can't see it. Sorry.
Oh, nice. Okay. I do love animation that blends music in like this, and I think that's one of the big pieces of potential for this work, that you have this talent that can sing and really well written music, and it just kind of fleshes out and tells the story in a really nice way. So yeah.
And not that this is the plan at all, but I'm curious, do you think that we would completely just ruin this project if we actually started employing AI to create some of it?
I mean, well, I like that to create some of the music specifically.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, or just animation or really anything. Like if you found out that any aspect of this project was written by, or composed, or animated by AI, would that ruin anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would kind of soften or cheapen things a little bit, maybe. Yeah, because I appreciate the humans behind things, but yeah. Knowing that it was there is the behind the scenes there and it was written by a person, I think makes it nice. Yeah. Or it seems to be more kind of valuable, or I appreciate the work that went into it for sure.
Yeah. I guess the reason I asked that is because we're talking about these premises of what does AI have to do with, can AI be human? Can AI contribute to an artistic endeavor, truly? And so we keep saying this is completely human made, which it is. We have not used a single piece of AI for anything that we've done with this, but I'm curious, because that's the topic we are tackling, if we did have AI write Sirius and Hope's dialogue, would that tarnish the project?
I mean, I don't know. It depends on if you're intentional about it. I think especially because you have these skills as a writer and you've kind of written these scripts and stuff like that, I think relying on that is really good. I think if you want to use that to make a statement about AI, you could do things have you been seeing the most recent season of South Park with their commentary and so the current season has AI generated stuff that is being put in, and they are very honest and very open when they put and it's very easy to tell that it's AI because they're putting in some really wild depictions of public figures that it looks like it's a live action thing, and it's the president of the United States.
Yeah, I know exactly. I do not have access to a Paramount Plus account right now, but I do know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, the Paramount Plus apparently they suck. They didn't put the curse on there. I'm sorry, I'm a big Nathan Fielder fan, so I'm going to go with him, what he said on his show earlier this year, that Paramount Plus sucks. Just boycott him. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I don't know. I think you could be really intentional about AI use. I think it's clear in that satirical context, they are talking about the use of AI and they're trying to make a lot of comments about it, so it flies there. If you think that here there's something that you can incorporate into the plot that uses AI intentionally and and you put it, maybe really clearly demarcate like where things are AI generated to have like an output, a purpose or a commentary, that could be really effective, I would say. But I mean, I really like what you've done so far with your human talent up till this point. So I think it,
we were as I said, we haven't actually used any artificial intelligence for the production of the episodes, but I did pose to our creative team, or our board, what if we actually did use an artificial intelligent model to take over our social medias, and they shot it down pretty quickly. But I always, I was thinking like, what if to get more like attention on our project, what if we like hire someone to create a Sirius AI and a Hope AI and have them like converse with each other on like social platforms as like an immersive way to get people into the project. But it was shot down. I don't think the team is into that, and I'm not even super sold on it either. It's just it was an interesting thing to think about. And it's such a strange thing because art is so human, but we are tackling a topic that is so inhuman.
Yeah.
And so, it's there's a lot of questions there. Anyway,
for sure.
Moving on to the next question. So as someone who has supported the project and believes in its potential, where do you hope to see Sirius AI get to? Where do you want to see it, and who do you want to see it? And I mean very like specifically, like, you, Jacob, come home from a long day. Are you going on Netflix, or are you going on YouTube, or Nickelodeon if you still watch cable?
I don't have cable, unfortunately. It would be Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. No, I'm just kidding. I am really looking forward to seeing the full episode that's going to launch tomorrow. Like you said, after this, that's really exciting.
4 minutes of a 30-minute episode.
I can't wait. Yeah, that's going to be really cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that content. And I mean, I personally, I don't really engage with TV too much because I don't have cable. I do use YouTube quite a lot, though, and I could see, what I mean? This is where I've kind of consumed Sirius already, is kind of you posted the pilot on YouTube. So I could see it kind of like you've done, kind of starting as kind of a web show. But I want, like you're saying, I mean, especially as we start to see what Sirius is going to go through, I think, and even, this is me postulating because I don't know the whole story, but seeing what he goes through maybe as he becomes more human, I think that message and that journey could really be resonant for a lot of people. So like you're saying, like people who feel like they might be replaced by AI or like they're inferior to AI. If you can kind of start with this lens of like, oh, this is just kind of an innocent entity that has a lot of experience to gain before it even becomes slightly closer to a human. Like, and it's gonna, like it does, with his innocence, maybe Sirius encapsulates like a small single dimension of humanity, and Hope has her own kind of angle that she has. But watching these characters kind of become more whole and experience, or at least understand humanity more, hopefully that could be, a lot of people could identify with that story. So,
for sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a musical inspired project, and I think there's still plenty of people who have long enough attention spans, but specifically kids, TikToks are so short. Instagram, things are just getting shorter and shorter. Even YouTube has YouTube Shorts. I mean, they've had YouTube Shorts for quite a bit now. But and just we're making long form content, and I've had several producers who I've had an opportunity to speak with. They're like, you have to make shorter content, things that we want something quick and easy, and we don't want to commit to something. And I think the challenge of getting people to watch our material is partly because of that. But also, I guess that affects where it goes, we still have our minds open of where, if someone were to buy the property from us, where would we want it to go? I guess Netflix would be a good answer, some kind of streaming service. But, I guess the project is so conceptual that it can go in any direction, as long as we have the conversations.
Also, so you said you had a TikTok as well. I'm a long form person. I really don't engage with short form content. I guess I kind of do because I do like read things on Reddit. So that's kind of a short interaction with a lot of things quickly. Maybe that's my short form activity. But I was wondering, like, have you considered, this 4 minutes that you're going to release? Are you going to take that and then like dice it up into like 20-second segments and release all of them on TikTok? Like, this I think is the new content of like people are watching entire movies that are all just like, and my fiance is like watching all of Grey's Anatomy, but like, and it's like 24 seasons, but it's all like tiny little 25-second clips, and it does get people interested. Like, I feel like you could, if we wanted to be more short form, you guys have a lot already. The 12-minute pilot, you've got this 4 minutes coming up. Like, I don't know if you've thought about having the long form version and just clip out and maybe put it out on TikTok that way. Maybe that could be a way that people get engaged with it from the start. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think those are all like mostly social media questions, which I've learned how to do social media because out of necessity. I don't necessarily enjoy it. And maybe you already know this about me because of our history, but like my preferred method of like storytelling is theater. Like, you can't. AI will never be able to touch theater the way that humans can. I think that we're gonna see it try to, but like theater is such a human project. Theater is such a human project that and that's my favorite. So I'm not sure why I brought that up, but let's hit our last question, and then we can call it a day. So how do you see yourself and other long-term supporters contributing to or shaping the community around the series?
So I'm definitely a cheerleader. I continue to, maybe Jay Pantazis, the Pan Store, will show up in a future episode. I'm happy to write some of the lore there. If you were interested, I could write a little bit of whatever. No, I'm just kidding. But I really like the writing workshops that you guys hold on Monday nights. I don't know if this is like super relevant, but I'm totally looking forward to joining one of those. Actually, honestly, John, like, I'm really interested in a writing project that is partially about like the hiking trip that we went in Vermont a couple years back. I really think like that 4-day trip is like, that could really serve like a story really well. And so maybe I'll even workshop it with you a little bit here when I come to your writing sessions. Like, I've been thinking a lot about a writing project that involves like that hiking story mixed with another story that I had on my own like later that year. And I feel like if I took them and kind of put them together, it could make one really cool story altogether. So I've been conceptualizing this for a while, but I struggle to sit down and really write it out. I mean, in my like daily job as like a scientist, I have to do a lot of like technical writing. Mm-hmm. So it's uses a different part of my brain, and I don't do as much of the creative writing. And so I like that you guys in your community are holding these kind of activities where people can meet and write, and it's an open forum, and it's just kind of like structured writing time. I think that's a really good activity. So I'd really like to take part in that actually moving forward.
What Jake's referring to is the CBC Writers Circle. It's virtual and in person. However, most of them are virtual, just because it's an activity that you can do from anywhere easily. I would love to get an in-person writing circle, but people just, as much as we say that we want that human connection, is it worth driving for? I don't know. For me, it is. But, for a lot of people, you just want them to show up and, get, like, it's the YouTube shorts. Like, give them something easily accessible so that they can, go further into it. But, I highly support that. I mean, I totally know what you're talking about. Those... especially multi-day hikes, real humanity comes out in those
Absolutely.
Times, right?
Absolutely.
Poop Doctor.
That was my trail name. Maybe that'll be mentioned but I liked what we had there because I feel like we were a small group of 5 people hiking, and we kind of I think we're all very different people, but we kind of came together. We're on a trail, and we had some like really interesting conversations about society. Like, I don't know. I really, there's a lot there. So maybe we'll explore that a little bit in a CBC writing circle. Yeah. But not super relevant to Sirius, but it's part of the lore maybe.
Yeah. So. The good thing about Sirius is that, one of the things that I really want to accomplish with this is, celebrating I don't want to go on a huge tangent about this, but like one of the reasons why I want people to give us Easter egg suggestions, for this world is because part of this is to celebrate the world that we live in. Like,
Yep.
I love the world that we live in. I feel very serious about it. And there's just a lot of like, there's a lot of people in my life, and I just know that this world is full of human beings. And they're contributing, and sometimes we forget how amazing the world is, and so sometimes we need it to be redrawn and colored to remember that. And so so like, for whatever it's worth, I want the history of the world that Sirius AI and Hope live in to literally be our world. So any way that we can expand the lore of that is I'm on board with.
Sweet.
I'm curious to know, like, what some of those stories that stuck with you or those conceptual questions, because I'll be honest, I have terrible memory, so I don't remember it. I remember a few things about that trip, and I don't remember what we talked about. I know we talked because what else is there to do?
It's interesting though what comes out of you when you're just on the trail for hours. Like, I don't know. And I mean, one of the highlighted parts will be you saying basically the entire script of Shrek. I feel like that was, we're gonna have to find a way to make it really poetic and really effective, but like, it sticks in my mind as like, this would be what we're doing on a trail. And it's so funny that John knows basically every single line to Shrek. It was very entertaining. So it needs to be memorialized, or needs to be kind of written down for future generations. But I think that's on the side of Sirius. I'm just really excited to see kind of where the next episode goes. And I'm really just hyped, and I think it's really awesome to see where it's come from. So congrats. Honestly.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well, we are at the end. We have chit-chatted, and Jacob, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me about AI, humanity, the project, just a little bit of everything. So,
totally.
I'm feeling pretty caffeinated. I'm out of my coffee, and you look like you drank your seltzer a while ago.
I actually drained one. Oh, you can't see because of the background. I drained one and started a whole other one, so I'm so hydrated. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were about to stop with. I thought you were about to say I'm so high right now. So either way. All right. Well, Jacob, thank you for tuning in. I'm gonna end this recording.